You're watching this video right now because you're stuck between 3 to 10K per month, and every single time you get on a sales call, you wonder why people say, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my wife, I usually make decisions with my business partner, or I usually don't make decisions like this, like in the same day. Let me just take some time to look over it. It sounds really, really cool, the program, but can I just get back to you in a day? You're getting all of these objections, and you're wondering why people aren't paying you on the calls, and you're wondering maybe your close rate is between 20 to 30%, which is not horrible, but there's definitely a problem there, and you're missing out on potential revenue. Because let's say you worked on your objection handling and you got it to 40%, and right now it's at 20%, you're essentially doubling the amount of sales. And if one sale is worth $4,000 for you, you're basically missing out on, let's say your current revenue, or let's say a current deals close is 10 times $4,000 per month, and that's with a 20% close rate. If you get it up to 40% before changing anything else, I can get you to 80K per month just with a better objection handling framework. So the first step to understanding objections and understanding is, why are you missing out on revenue? Because you don't actually understand how to handle objections. Number one, what is an objection? Before we even get to anything else, you probably watch a lot of videos saying like, okay, to handle objection, follow this 3-step process. For me, the way I like explaining it, and the reason why you're gonna like the way that I break this down, is because it's gonna allow you to understand exactly how to do it on your own with your own process. That's my goal here. My goal is not for you to follow this 3-step process, a SOP. I want you to understand what an objection is, what this cycle is that you go through, and then why it's actually important for you to do it as a business owner instead of just letting them get off the call. It's actually your responsibility. So the first thing is what? What is an objection? Think about an iceberg. So obviously, iceberg. The tip of the iceberg here is, I need to think about it. To think about it. That's the objection that they're giving you on the front end. But on the back end, meaning what's actually beneath the surface. And you can't see beneath the surface if you don't actually do your job properly. A lot of sales reps will get on calls and will hear, I need to think about it, and they start panicking. They start panicking because there's this pressure. I need to make money. I need to do this. And it's not even sales rep, it's you as the business owner, or especially if you're training closers, if you're closing deals yourself, which right now you probably are, you need to understand how to overwork this and why this is happening. This is happening because people don't feel comfortable, don't trust you to tell you the truth. If your mom asked you, hey, why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? Unless you always lie to your parents, which I hope you don't, you're gonna tell them the real reason behind why you did something, because there's a level of trust. And if you do a good job in your sales process, hopefully you've already done this, but still, you're still talking to a stranger on a Zoom call, so it's very normal for someone to give you an objection at the end of the call. If you really dial in the sales process, probably won't happen, but it can happen, and you need to be prepared. So the point is, the first thing to understanding about objections is that these are all surface level of the iceberg. What's beneath the iceberg is feelings. Now, when it comes to objections and when it comes to actual decisions, there's only probably 2 big things: fear and logistics. And sometimes it's money, but if you're a good business owner, you can actually break down money. And money is not a feeling. Money is more from logistics. Money, okay? Another one is, let's say they're moving out of the country, and for the next 2 weeks they can't really get started, or they're traveling this summer, etc. These are actual logistics, but the problem is even behind these logistics, sometimes they're actually hidden objections. And that's why you can't listen to it. When somebody tells you, I need to think about it, of course you want to trust the person in front of you, but that's not your job. Your job is to help that person understand why they need to think about it. Why, if you actually think that this service or product can actually help your business add $30,000, if I can help you add 30K in your business, why do you need to think about it? They need to think about it because they're scared. Most of the time, they will be scared. This is the main thing, okay? So your job is basically to work on objection handling fear, which is not objection handling 3-step process, it's an emotion. And the way you deal with emotions is by guiding people step by step in a way that feels smooth, soft, and well-spoken. You can't just go, yeah, okay, are you a little whatever? And you can't just be, it's not you versus them. It's you and him versus the emotion. That's the way that you need to think about objection handling. So the first thing that we just went over is what is an objection? An objection is basically a surface level verbal word that people use to cover a feeling. Now, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my wife. I need to ring around the rosy and talk to my fish. I need to, first I have a couple things to do. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I need to think about it. Oh, I usually don't do these decisions like this. I think it's a really cool program. You did a really good job, but I'm going to take some time to think about it. All of these here, I guarantee you, are the top of the iceberg. So that is your biggest job. Your biggest job, number one, is to understand what is an objection. Now you already understand what is an objection. So you now know that what that person is telling you is not something you should be afraid of. It's something that you can actually help that person with. Because a lot of people will get on sales calls and someone will give them an objection and they'll start panicking. They'll start saying, oh, sure, and they'll start getting scared from the objection. Don't be scared of the objection, accept the objection. So basically that's what. What is an objection? It's very important. That's the first thing. The second thing you need to know is why you need to actually help them, okay? So we just went over what. So now you understand, after looking at this here, you understand that an objection is simply the tip of the iceberg and your job is to scuba dive under the ocean and get down to the iceberg. Pretend this is the water. You're on a boat here, okay? And the person in front of you is telling you objection, and you're on this boat. Your job is not to back out and leave the iceberg because whatever. Your job is to take your scuba dive underneath here and find this feeling, which 99% of the time is fear. It's a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities, there's a lot of things down packed here that you need to get to. And if you can't get to that, well, you won't close more deals. So that's the first thing you need to know. Now you know what? Now you know what an objection is, and you know that 99% of the time it is a surface level verbal communication of a feeling that they feel inside of why they won't buy or take the next step towards changing them. The second thing you need to know is about objection handling. And you see, we haven't even got to the objection handling process. And that's why it takes more time to actually handle objections than you think, because it's more about you being prepared to help someone else. Why do you think you need to objection handle? It's not because you want to make more money. Yes, we all want to make more money, but it's not because of that. The reason why you want to objection handle is because let's say you can help that person make $50,000. Let's say you're a coach helping a fitness client, okay? Or let's say you're a B2B coach, or let's say you're a biz op coach, whatever it is. If you can help someone get a direct outcome, $50,000, or let's say you're fitness coaching, you're helping somebody get jacked. And for them to get jacked, what does that mean for them? B2C is more emotional. It would maybe be something like feel happier, more confident. Technically, there's actually less of you can't put a price on confidence. You feeling confident every single day, there's no price. So basically, if you, at the end of the call, know that as a B2B coach, you can add $50,000 inside of this person's business. If you know as a fitness coach that you can help this person get jacked and become more confident, if you did the discovery process properly, you know actually what they want underneath it and how it's going to make them feel. Not only the outcome, but how it actually makes them feel is the most important thing, because at the end of this call, you need to be able to extract that to remind them what they actually want. So the reason why is because if that person wants to make $50,000, if you let him get off the call because he thought that 5K was too much, and 5K, that's a 10x return. If he thinks that it doesn't make sense, then you didn't do your job properly. And the biggest thing about this is this. If you can generally help somebody make $50,000 with their business, and $50,000 with their business means traveling, like let's say you really did it properly, the discovery process, and they wanted to always travel with family and finally feel like the man in their family. If you can get to that point, why would you let them get off the call because they thought that $5,000 was too expensive? You as the person, because you're not only here to make money, you're here to change people's lives. And if you want to change people's lives, you need to understand that you letting them get off the call, or you letting them go think about it, talk to their wife, is you doing a disservice. You need to have that mentality when it comes to objection handling. let's write this here. Disservice. This is very big. And the reason why it's big is because a lot of people don't take objection handling serious. They just think, oh, I just lost $5,000 sale. No, you lost a person that wanted to make $50,000 in the next 6 months, wanted to travel and finally take his family on a trip. That is now your responsibility on this call to do a service for him to understand that. But if you don't let that person go through this process, and if you don't help them, you're doing them a disservice. You are not responsible, you are responsible for helping that person get over that fear. Let's say the fitness guy, let's say he wants to get jacked, and getting jacked is gonna mean happier and confident. Let's say that the program is 3K. If he thinks that 3K is too expensive, and the ROI on confidence is unlimited. If you feel more confident, you can meet more people. Meeting more people, make more money. More money means you're happier. It's literally a compounding loop. If you cannot help that person understand that $3,000 is a steal for him becoming more happy and more confident, then you didn't do your job well as a business owner and as a closer. So if you let this person that he knows if he gets jacked, he's gonna be happier and confident. And if you do the job properly, they're gonna open up to you and they will be able to tell you their actual problems. Well, that $3,000 is nothing. And also, if you let them get off the call, you now know that you gave that person a disservice. Because a true person that actually wants to help, if you actually want to help people get jacked and you actually want to help people get happier and more confident, and $3,000 is the price for that, you need to make sure that you don't let that person come off the call with, I need to think about it. And that's why, if that person, the first thing you need to understand is this person is on a call with you for a reason. A lot of people, when they do objection handlings, they don't understand with the frame that's set. Let me explain. The frame is basically that they came on your call. You're on a Zoom call in front of your computer. It's one-to-one, okay? You with this guy, okay? You guys are both on a call, okay? In front of the screens. You did not reach out to this person. Or maybe you did, but this person has a problem that they need solved. So whenever you're handling objections, you need to understand that it comes from that frame. They have the problem and you're there to solve it. And you're there to help them overcome the emotion underneath the iceberg for them to actually do the next steps and actually travel and finally get their family on in that traveling thing that he always wanted to do his whole life, make $50,000, and that guy who wanted to get jacked and becomes happier and confident, and he told you that he doesn't feel confident for the last 10 years, and you're not able to get him to overcome fear, you're not going to be successful as a business owner. Because you need to understand that you letting that person off the call is you not helping that person. Like a fireman that has a fire. If, let's say, the fireman knows that there's a house on fire and there's a problem, and the fireman gets called. Fireman called 911. If the fireman is too scared of coming in the house and doing the fire, why are you a fireman in the first place? You're a fireman because you are willing to take the risk to help people get out of these dangerous situations and put the fire extinct. That is why you got hired. That is why you do your job. So as a fireman, if somebody calls you, you have to be able to overcome the fear to be able to solve that problem. Everybody does it. You just need to be able to do your job properly. And just because you're selling a coaching program or just because you want to make money does not mean that you are not allowed to help that person in the best way you see fit. And that's the most important thing. So we just went over why you want to handle objections. You are not just somebody making money. You are somebody transforming somebody into the identity and the person, because we do decisions based off of who we think we are. And that's a whole other thing that I'm going to talk about, but not related to why. The why you need to handle objection is because that person getting off the call is almost like you should be scared to let that person get off the call, not of the objection. You should be happy that they're giving you objection. You should be happy because you know that there's something beneath that iceberg. If there was no iceberg at all, well, like, what are you actually helping that person do? Most of the time there will be an iceberg and you need to help them. And the reason why you need to help them is because you are confident in your own service and you are confident that helping that person make $50,000 as a B2B coach or helping that guy become more jacked as a fitness coach is going to completely change their lives. And if you help them and if you let them get off that call and not change their life, you are doing a disservice to that person. And why are you even on the call in the first place if you're scared of the objection? Do you see the frame now? It has nothing to do with being scared of the objection. It has to do with your responsibility as a business owner and as a sales person that wants to help that person get over that problem. So now you know what an objection is. An objection is basically just a surface level view of the actual iceberg, but everybody knows that iceberg is underneath, but you didn't know until now. Now you know that the objection is just the tip of the iceberg, but the Titanic didn't sink because of the iceberg at the top. It sunk because how big it is at the bottom, and no one saw that and they just ran straight into it. So you need to know that it's a big ass iceberg and they're only telling you the tippity top, and you can't let them get off the top without diving in and scuba diving and going to see the iceberg yourself and analyzing their limiting beliefs, their feelings, and their experiences, and helping them get over those specific things. Number one. Number two, why? Why? Because you have a responsibility as a coach, a B2B person. You have to think about this to yourself deeply. Take some time to reflect on this. Why did you actually start this? Why did you actually start helping people? I know you want to make money. We all want to make money. I want to make money. We all want to make money. But why did you actually start this? You started this because you believe that if somebody enrolls into your program or your coaching services, that you can actually change your life. Carry that same belief when they give you those objections. That's your why. Because you have a responsibility to help that person get to the outcomes. And you also have a responsibility to zoom into their specific situation so you can actually help them at the end. If you don't zoom into the why and everything like that, you didn't do it properly. That's the first thing. So now you're ready to handle objections because you know what it is and you know why it's important for you to help that person. Now with that said, you're now ready to install my framework. 3 is the actual handling. So for me to be able to explain to you how to handle objections, what, why, before I even get to the actual framework, I want you to understand how, if you had a friend, let's do this example right here. Let's say this is a big ass cliff. Okay, this is like the Grand Canyon. And there's a bridge. And there's another cliff. And over here, there's a river. Okay, this is the bridge. Well, there's the bridge, and there's the bridge. Okay, so that's basically the bridge. And you and your friend are on side A, and this is side B. Okay, you are on this side with your friend, which is basically you with your prospect on the sales call. I want you to zoom into this example and understand exactly what I'm telling you, because how you're going to be able to handle it is not just watching a YouTube video of the 3-step process. You need to say step 1, step 2, step 3. No, the how you handle objections is by first understanding how you actually help someone overcome fear. How do you help somebody overcome one of their biggest fears? And guess what? You've probably done it in your life many, many times. Just the way that it's framed online, you don't understand. Let me explain. You and your friend are on side A of the canyon. You guys are hanging out, whatever it is, and you know, as the person crossing this bridge, that if you guys get on side B, your friend here, you have this superpower that you can see into the future. And you know that your friend, if he crosses this bridge, is gonna meet the love of his life, the girl he's gonna marry, okay? You know that, but he does not know that. But he has an idea. He knows that there's a lot of women here that he's been wanting to see, stuff like that, but he doesn't know he's gonna find the exact person that he's been wanting to marry his whole life. Example. But your friend is really scared of heights. So once again, we're talking about fear here. What are we talking about? We're talking about the feeling that we have to help our prospect overcome. Your friend, okay, is scared to get on this bridge. As the friend who generally wants the best for your friend and wants him to find the girl and get married in this example, but let's say it could be if he crosses this, he finds a $10,000 gold mine. If he crosses this, his cancer gets freed. I don't know what it is. Think about an example. Follow this. If he's scared of heights and if you generally care about your friend, are you gonna let him not cross the bridge because he's scared of heights? Fuck no. You're gonna help him cross the bridge. Why? Because you understand that if he crosses that bridge and if he gets over his fear, he's gonna get the outcome he's wanted his whole life. The fear, it is nothing. You must understand this. So with that said, think about a time in your life where your friend has felt a certain emotion but wanted a certain outcome and you help them overcome it. Now you have to ask yourself, how would you help your friend overcome this? Well, you explain to them, look, dude, I know that it's high, okay? I know that it's high. I know that you're scared of heights, but dude, the version of you who actually marries the girl, is he scared of heights? Yes. But does he cross the bridge anyway? He does. Why? Why do you think? Ask him the question. Why do you think? This is called identity framing. But you ask him, okay, why do you think that? And he's going to say, well, because he wants the outcome and he's willing to get over his fears. So that is the framework that you need to install in your mind. The how you handle objections is how you're going to help your friend cross the bridge if he's scared of heights. If you know that on the other side of that bridge, there's something he's wanted his whole life. Obviously, you're going to help your friend. 10 times out of 10, you'd help your friend. You wouldn't let him get out of it. It's either he's going to cross the bridge or you guys are never going to talk again because you're going to be so pissed. That's how it has to be. It has to be that a person's gonna hang up on the phone with you because you help it so much, or they buy. So now you know the how. That is how you do it. You do it by understanding that you're helping somebody overcome fear, and the way that you do it is by taking their hand and guiding them step by step with your words and your feelings and your conviction. Because if you sound unsure, they're also going to be unsure. They're relying on you as a friend. You have to make them feel that it's okay. It's okay, friend. You can cross the bridge. We're going to do this together. So you now understand what an objection is, why it's important for you to handle it, and why it's your responsibility. And now you have the framework on literally the easiest example that I can think of how you help somebody overcome fear to get to the other side of your bridge, just like if it was your friend. And that's the same way that you should go about it when you're handling objections with your prospects. So now the fourth thing we want to go on to is this, okay? So you're probably stuck in this specific cycle, and let me explain to you this. And the reason why it's important is because, once again, my way of solving problems is what? Number one, clarity. How are you able to solve a problem if you don't know exactly what the problem is? Okay, what is the cycle that you're stuck in? Okay, well, for you to be able to solve the problem, you have to be self-aware about self-awareness about the loop. If you don't know the cycle, then how are you supposed to break out of it? You have to be aware of the cycle. And the cycle is this. You hop on a call and you get to the objection handling part. The person gives you a surface level objection. Now, this surface level objection, we're going to take a specific example so I can walk you through step by step what I would do to handle this objection and how you break out of this cycle that you're going to have to go through with the same person over and over. So the cycle is somebody tells you that they need to talk to their wife, and you are selling a fitness coaching program that is $3,000 for this specific example. The more specific it is, the easier it is for you to map it out. $3,000 fitness, and the $3,000 problem. The $3,000 program can help him become more confident and shred it. Okay? And he's also told you that his wife wants him in better shape. Okay, so this is the context that you have before you handle this objection. So he tells you service level objection. It's cool, man. I think the program is really cool. I like the way that you broke it down through the 6-month structure, the diet plan, the workout plan, the specific things I need to do, and the accountability, plus one-on-one access to you. It's really, really cool. But the thing is every time I make a decision for the past 15 years, I've always consolidated my wife. And if I don't do that this time, well, they'll probably won't explain to you, but let's say hardest level, like highest boss, 15 years, and if I don't talk to my wife about it, she's gonna get really mad about it. And that's basically what you're facing through this program, okay? So the first thing that you want to do, and this is the cycle that you're gonna go through and what most people do, okay? So most people will go against the objection. So the first thing that we want to do is differentiate ourselves from everyone else, okay? So we want to be unique. And the way that we are unique by handling objections is by saying, no problem at all, man. I totally understand that. You want to talk to your wife. If he opens up, anything that someone tells you is something that you want to collect and you want to be proud and accepting of. For example, oh man, yeah, so the program is $3,000 for the 6 months and it's one-on-one, accountability, etc., diet plans, everything's done for you, bam, bam, bam. Okay. Yeah, man, I just need to think about it for the last 15 years. Wow, 15 years. You know what? There's a lot of people I speak to on these calls. This is an identity frame. And I'll dive into identity frame in a second, but we'll try to stay in objection handling. There's a lot of people I speak to on these calls who make these decisions very quickly, or they just say no, they don't really give me a reason. So the fact that you talk to your wife about this and you've been doing this for the last 15 years, wow, you guys must have a really good relationship. She must trust you a lot to make the right decisions, man. What did I just do there? Let's break that down. So what I just did is I said, okay, no problem at all. But what did I do? I complimented him. Compliment him. Why? Because the first step to anything is, you know what? You're actually doing a really good job. Why? Because that does something subconsciously. Lower guard. So if we go back to the main thing about objections is what? The main thing about objections is understanding that it's a iceberg. Okay. So knowing that it's an iceberg, for you to actually be able to dive down there in your little boat here, for the person to be able to let you see what's under, okay, is for you to have a low guard. So all the feelings are here, insecurities, limiting beliefs, etc. For you to actually be able to dive down here, the thing that you need to do is lower that person's guard. And lowering the guard is basically every single person throughout their experiences in their life have developed defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms is our way of protecting ourselves from our emotions, from other people, because we've been hurt in the past, and everyone has these defense mechanisms, okay? Think about it as the war. You have your cannons and you're defending your own country. That's what we do with our own emotions psychologically, and that's basically how this works. Now, if you take a look at this, for example, just in the sense of diving deep and lowering their guard. If you get somebody's guard lowered, they don't think you're a threat. That's where defense mechanisms get activated. So once again, you have to understand before you even do anything, why are you doing that specific thing? Why would I accept instead of challenging? Why would I say, okay, you know what, you're actually smart, whatever, instead of saying, well, why do you need to talk to your wife? Aren't you a real man? Because that makes their guard higher. And when their guard is high, I can't help them get over the fear. So you need to lower their guard. But why do you need to lower their guard? You need to lower their guard because you understand that humans have defense mechanisms. And those defense mechanisms is what allows them to have their guard high. And this is not where their emotions are. Their emotions are underneath the defense mechanisms. So for you to get underneath the defense mechanisms, you have to come off as a non-threat, right? Let's say you have a defense mechanism is literally there to help you stay away from threats. What your brain perceives as a threat is where your defense mechanisms get activated. So if you're the opposite of a threat, if you come in gentle, and if you come in smooth and nice, and you're literally just there to help, well, what did you do? You just did the opposite of what everybody else does when it comes to objection handling, and you just lower their guard. So the first thing that you did is lower their guard, so now you can have a more productive conversation. Boom. Now, how did I compliment him? What did he tell me? He said, for the last 15 years that I've been with my wife. What does that signal to me right away? That signals trust. Now, obviously, I'm at a higher level of objection handling, meaning that I can pick up on that in the same 5 seconds and use that to identity frame them. That's something you can get really good at as well. But the point is you use what they tell you to your advantage in a way to help them. And not your advantage in a way that it's against them or you're manipulating, whatever. In a sense, sales is manipulation, but why are you manipulating? You're manipulating because you know that if he gets into this fitness coaching program, that's $3,000, and he becomes more confident, more happy, he's gonna have a better life. So you need to manipulate him. Yes, you do, but in a good way, obviously. Some people use it for malicious intents. This is for good intents, and you believe that just as much as I do. So he said, for the last 15 years, I've been consolidating my wife for my decisions. Don't say, yeah, but dude, you know, that's probably why you're in the same position. Wrong. That's not what you do. What you do is you say, you know what, man? I think that's actually amazing. Your wife must trust you. Now, let me explain to you a concept. The concept is identity framing. Identity framing stems from, it always starts with what's the concept and then why are we using that concept. Identity framing is basically a concept that stems from how humans make decisions. How do humans make decisions? Humans make decisions based off of their identity. And what is an identity? An identity is how you perceive yourself. Self-perception. So if you ask me, Nick, how do you handle objections? It all starts with this. It starts with understanding that people make decisions based off of their identity, and an identity is the way that they perceive themselves. So if you want to help somebody change the way that they make decisions, you need to change the way that they perceive themselves. Do you see that? That's called a reframe. But you can't just reframe on the front end and just say, hey, you probably make more money if you didn't. No. Because why? Because defense mechanisms. You need to walk through it step by step. You need to uncover everything. You need to go through, okay, lower his guard, gain his trust. But understand that people make decisions based off of who they think they are. If somebody thinks that they're a loser, that's what they're gonna make their decision based off of tomorrow morning. Every single decision you make, the decision of you clicking this video is because you wanna become better at closing. That is an identity. You see yourself already as the person. Look, I'll identity from you right now. You're surprised, man. There's a lot of people who wanna get better closing rates, but don't actually take the time to invest into their skills and watch videos. So the fact that you're watching this video right now shows that you actually want to get better and that you'll probably be there, because the individuals who actually become successful are the ones who invest in themselves. Do you see that? Now you just feel like watching this video is the best thing you just did your whole day. Why? Because I just reframed the way that you saw yourself, the way that you saw you looking at this video, because I understand that humans make decisions based off their identity. Do you see that? It always starts with, what's the concept that we're working on, and then work backwards. That's literally the way that I consult people, and that's the way that I've been able to generate 130K for 3 clients only in the last 1.5 years. That's how. Okay? Now, I'll give you an example. If we go back here, he said, for the last 15 years that I've been only doing decisions with my wife and that she would be really mad. What do you say? You say, okay, you accept. Step 1 is accept. No problem, man. I totally understand. And use what they told you. You know what? And then you can identity frame. Now, identity frame is basically understanding that humans make decisions based off of their identity. So the way that you reframe his identity is into the person that he wants to be. He's going to make a decision only from that person, not from the person he is now, because the person he is now on this sales call has the results that he has now because of the way he thinks. For him to get different results, he needs to think a different way. So for you to be able to change the way he thinks, you need to reframe his identity. So you need to accept that. And do you see the way that I reframed it? In your eyes, you'll hear this objection. You're like, oh shit, this guy goes to his wife. He probably thinks to himself that he's a loser for asking his wife deep down. Probably it's a subconscious. If we go back into the iceberg, where's my little iceberg here? If we go back into the iceberg, one of his limiting beliefs that he probably has is talking to his wife is probably something that he doesn't feel like a man deep down. That's a limiting belief that probably he's never told to anyone in his life, maybe just his mom one time, that's it. And you're able to pick up on that because you see that and you understand that. So for you, when he tells you that, you accept it. You say, you know what, man, I think you're smart. And the way, like, if we just explain this concept, okay? If you just look at this objection here, self-perception, okay? The self-perception of something that I just explained. What did I just explain? I just explained that he has probably a limiting belief that when he goes to talk to his wife, he won't tell me this. It's just the way he does things now. But he might have a self-belief that when he goes to talk to his wife, okay, that he is a loser for asking his wife. What did I do? I just changed his self-perception. He might have that perception, or he might have a perception that it's actually good. Either or, the point is that we make it normal. We're on the same page here, good or bad. Because if it's bad, if I reframe it as good, it's good. If it's good, it's good. Meaning, if the self-perception is that he thinks he's a loser for asking his wife, which, not to get into this, but biologically, if you make decisions asking other people, you feel less confident in your own decisions. That's biological, it's psychological standpoints. But let's say he feels good about that and he's okay with that and socially he's accepted that. Then his self-perception is good. And that's fine. But if it's bad, then you're reframing it saying, dude, a lot of people I get on these calls with don't do that. You're actually smart and your wife must trust you. Now, what did I do there? So obviously that's an identity frame. I framed him. What is this identity frame? I just framed him into the identity of that his wife trusts him to make the right decisions. So guess what? You think he's gonna say no to that? Imagine you tell somebody, dude, you're actually really smart. Like, that just shows your wife must trust you a lot to make the right decisions then. He's not gonna be like, no, she doesn't trust me at all. He's obviously gonna say yes. If somebody says, no, she doesn't trust me at all, then you uncover that. But if he's probably gonna say, yeah, dude, you know what, for the past 15, wow, there's a lot of people I speak to who don't talk to their wives. That shows that you and her have a really good relationship. She must trust you a lot. Yeah, man, she trusts me a lot. So guess what? He just agreed with me that his identity is the person that his wife trusts to make the right decisions Do you think that person's gonna say no to buy this program? Do you think the person that his own wife trusts him to make the right decisions is gonna say no? Because if he says no now, and that's the real objection behind that it's obviously fear. But if knowing that, if I tell him that and he agrees with me, later on in this conversation after I uncover everything, if he says, yes, my wife, I'm gonna say, yeah, but doesn't your wife trust you to make the right decisions? If he says no, well then he just went against what he said before, and people don't really contradict themselves. And if he does, then we're gonna have to uncover that. But he just agreed with me that his wife trusts him to make the right decisions. Do you see that? So now when we uncover the process and we go towards it, he's not gonna bring this objection back up. If he does, I'm gonna bring back what he told me. And if he says no to this identity frame, then we'll uncover that. Oh, really, man? Well, what's going on? Why doesn't, if you don't mind me asking, because I just want to see if I can help. That's a way of disarming, just to see if I can help. Just to see if I can help. Just skip it. Okay, whatever. You get the point. But basically, that's it. Identity frame. Do you see that? If he says no, then we're going to cover that. Yeah, man, just to see if I can help. Like, what's going on? He's gonna say, dude, like, you know, she always trusts me. And then you don't wanna make it you and him against the wife, but that's a different thing. But basically, psychologically, if he says no, that's because he feels a disconnect between him and his wife. So you have to create a connect to overcome that with him. That's more deep down. But basically, most of the time, if you say somebody, dude, you'd be surprised because your wife must trust you a lot then. For the last 15 years, you guys have a really good relationship and she trusts you. You think somebody's gonna say, no, we don't have a good relationship? No one's gonna say that. People are gonna agree, even if they don't think it's true, because they want that to be the truth. And that's what they're gonna act upon, is that identity. Okay? So accept and then use that. So now what we just did, we just built him into the identity of the person who buys. So basically what we're going through here is exactly this process of surface level objection. Okay, identity frame them, because why? Because we understand that people make decisions based off of their identity, and identity is how you perceive yourself. So for us to make him change his decision and actually buy our program, we need to change the way that he sees himself. So whatever he gave us, yeah man, no worries at all, that's really cool. For the past 15 years, really, that means that your wife must trust you a lot and you must make the right decisions. Yes, okay, so now that identity is framed. He is now framed into the identity of somebody who's capable of making decisions by himself. Why? Because his wife trusts him. If it's your partner trusts you. If it's time, then when you do go and think about it, you have to find an identity to build them up into. Say, okay, you do that. So you do, okay, you accept. Reframe slash, I like to just use identity frames, right? You don't need to reframe yet, but you identity frame what they're doing, and then you ask a clarifying question. What is a clarifying question? A clarifying question is when they say, I need to talk to my wife. No worries at all, man, da-da-da. You go through that process. Then you say, so just to see if I can help, John, when you do go ahead and do that objection, when you do go ahead and talk to your wife, when you do go ahead and talk to your partner, when you do go and think about it, when you take the day off, when whatever it is the objection they tell you, go with it. When you do go ahead and talk to your wife about this fitness program, what were the things that would come up? Or specifically, what would you need to tell her just to see if I can give you more information, just to see if I can help today? So now there's two things that are gonna happen. Number one, he's either gonna give you another surface level objection. Yeah, man, I'm just gonna talk to her about the program and stuff, and that's because you need to go through this loop again. Or they're basically gonna break out of this cycle and tell you the real objection, which most of the time is fear. Yeah, you know, man, I'm just gonna talk to her about it, like, just wanna see if it makes sense for me. Oh, okay. Well, if they say that, okay, for example, they might not give you fear at the beginning. They might give you a different objection. They might say, what I just said. They might just say, I don't know if it's right for me. That's another iceberg, right, for me. So there's a very good chance that you're probably gonna have to go through this iceberg many times with the person in front of you, because some people just don't wanna give you the real objection at the bottom. But that's okay, because we're gonna work through that same cycle. But that's the part of the cycle that you wanna get to. You wanna get to a point where basically they give you the fear, because once they give you fear, then you can just frame them into the person that they wanna be. There's version 1 and there's version 2. V1 and V2. And there's different ways to go from here, but when you have the real raw objection, it's actually very easy for you to handle it because you have two versions of yourself. You have the first version that gets the money and gets the goals and gets jacked in this specific example, or you have the version 2 that lets emotions dictate. Which ones do you feel like would actually help you achieve your goal? It's probably version 1. Okay, cool. So what do you feel is the best decision to put you, what do you feel is the best decision for you to take so you can actually achieve your goals right now, and then you'll be able to get there. So basically, surface level objection, accept the objection, bring it in, identity frame them, and make it okay, their objection, from everything that I've explained to you. Then, you want to ask a clarifying question. No worries at all. When you do go and talk about it to your wife, what do you feel like would actually come up? Oh, I don't know, man. Like, okay, and I totally understand that, but look, what were the specific things that you would actually need to talk about? Because I want to make sure I can give you all the information. Does that make sense? And if they do, yeah, man, but listen, I just want to talk about it with my wife. Then if they don't give you the real objection, then you say this. And basically, this is something that I call a boundary conversation. Because you want to reframe them, because you tell them, look, John, as much as I respect what you're telling me right now, I know that my job here today is to make sure that I can help you to the best of my ability. And right now, I feel like this conversation is not the most productive because I would love to give you all the information that I would need to tell you so you can actually go ahead and give all your wife the details. Is there anything that I'm missing, or was everything clear? If he says everything is clear, then say, okay, cool, man. Well, just when you do go and talk about it with your wife, what is there to actually talk about if everything is clear? So you basically want to have that type of conversation and make it so that you can actually get to a point where you're having conversations about the real raw objection underneath everything, which is the emotion, and most of the time it's fear. And fear, the way you handle it is, number one, you can split the identity into two different people. There's two versions of you that is going to leave this call, man. The version 1 is going to let his emotions dictate his goal, and that's the person that's going to stay in the exact same position that you've been in. Or there's the version of you who knows he's scared and is willing to take that risk to get to his goals. Which one do you feel would actually help you get to your result? So you ask him the question. Always ask them the question of where they would want to be. So that's basically the objection handling framework that I work with. The first thing that you want to understand is, okay, what is an objection? Second thing is, you already know that. The second thing is, why? So when they give you these surface level objections, the reason why, if he tells you the same surface level objection 3 times, the reason why you don't want to just leave him is because you understand that he wants to get in shape and he wants to fulfill his dream and be happier and confident, and it's your job to help him uncover that by giving you the real objection and then you helping him go through that process. Now, that's the first thing. Second thing is why. Third thing is how. Do you see this process here of helping your friend cross the bridge? What did I do here? He gave me the real objection. You know, your friend at the beginning is going to say, yeah, man, I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like crossing the bridge, whatever. Yeah, man, you know what? I don't even want to do this right now. But underneath that, he's just scared to cross the bridge. Once they give you the real objection, once your friend tells you that he's actually scared to cross the bridge, say, dude, look, there's two versions of you right now. There's the version who's going to do it scared and the version that's not. The version of you that's going to do it scared and the version of you that's not going to do it at all. And which version do you want to be? So there's that. There's also analogies. Look, man, obviously there's a lot of people in this world that have done things scared. Have you ever done something that was scary, but you still did it because you had to do it? Yeah? Talk to me about that. Well, let's walk through that. So you can actually, another thing you can do is reflect it back to them. So for example, if fear is the thing that you're handling, if you can just implement what I've told you now and you're able to break past this cycle, this is the cycle that's keeping you stuck at 20 to 30% closing rates, then to get past that, you have to be able to uncover real objections. If you're able to uncover real objections, I guarantee you your sales closing will go by up to 10 to 15%. Why? Because you are now having real conversations about real things and not surface level iceberg conversations that don't actually lead to anything and they're not actually telling you the truth. It's kind of like a girl telling you, hey, I'm really busy, I'm gonna have to cancel. She's not probably busy, she's just maybe not interested. Or hey, I just feel like right now is not the right time. Those are all surface level objections, okay? I'm not assuming that it's all like that for girls, but I'm just saying that sometimes people will say things because they don't want to tell you the real reason. And that's the concept that you need to work through. So if you're having constant conversations about the fear, then you will close more because you know exactly what you're talking about. And you've probably helped your friends overcome emotion to get to the results that they wanted. And that's what you need to do. That is your job and it's your responsibility. Now, once you're at this level, then working through the last 10 to 15% of your closing rate to help it double or to add an extra 20 to 30% in closing would actually be about how you actually go about overcoming fear. Because even if you get to this point and you're overcoming fear well, somebody might just back out and go back to the surface level. Yeah, man, but you know what? I'll just think about it and be like, hey, dude, you want to have that conversation. So once you have and get to this level, there's a couple things you can do. You can identity frame them by splitting their path and showing them their current reality. You can reflect it back on them. You can say, hey, man, like, yeah, totally fair. You know what? I probably felt the exact same way. Has there any bit a period of your life where you were scared, but you still decided to do something and the universe rewarded you in a good way? Yeah? Talk to me about that. Reflect it back to him. So that's like the two ways you can do it. Another thing you can do is use analogies. You know, if you have good analogies, that's always good. You know, the person who's scared versus the person who actually gets things done. You can use the friend crossing your bridge analogy. Like, for example, if it's fear and you explain to him, let's say this guy is, let's say this is B2C, right? B2C, you wouldn't use this. But if it's B2B, if you're helping a business, one of the best ways that I like to handle fear or objection handling is asking them, hey man, if one of your clients told you this objection on a call, what would you actually tell them? That's the best way because it completely reframes the way that they're handling this conversation right now because it puts responsibility back into their hands and it makes them realize that if they were on a call with some clients, they would probably help that client do the same thing that you're doing right now, which might evaporate their own objection and move towards the process faster. And then you can ask what we'll call commitment questions. So there's different ways of handling fear. And then from fear, you want to get to commitment. Commitment, how do you go from commitment to actually getting them to pay? You say, what is the, so yeah man, totally fair. And just based off of that, what do you feel? And once again, always use feel because you want to keep them into the part of the brain that actually makes decisions, which is emotion actually. So what do you feel is the best decision for you considering your goal? If they tell you some BS answer that you have to, that's probably because you didn't do a good job or because there's something wrong. But they'll tell you, yeah, well, I probably have to do it. Cool, man. So how would you like to proceed? And also from this point on to the closing, it has to be smooth and efficient. You have to have the payment links ready. You have to have the contract ready. And you have to not talk too much and just get to process, and then onboarding, which needs to be smooth, quick, and efficient as well. But the point is you handle it in a couple different ways. If you're B2C, you use an analogy. You can also reflect it back to them. You can also ask them, hey man, okay, let me ask you this. If you had a friend and they were looking to cross a bridge, that's an analogy. Analogy close, you can identity frame close, but you can also say something like, hey man, like look, if you were a fitness coach, or if you put myself in your position, if you wanted to help somebody genuinely get better and they were scared of doing it, but what would you actually tell them? So those are ways to bridge from the emotion to the commitment question, because you basically want to get them to do micro commitments. The first micro commitment is for them to get from the surface level objection to get to the real objection. They're committing to telling you the truth. Then from there, you want to get them to commit to a version of themselves that actually reaches their goal. And that version, what do? They commit. So now you ask a commitment question. So yeah, man, and I think that's really the case. And this is going to decide that. So what do you feel is actually the best decision for you to make today on this call for you to actually get to XYZ result? And then if you did the process properly, they will tell you that. So this is basically my whole masterclass. If you've watched this video to this point, I guarantee you will close more deals just because you've sat through probably 45 minutes now of me yapping about this. Look at all this that we went through. We just went through what is an objection, why is it important for you to handle objections, and why you are doing a disservice to your clients by not helping them. Then, an easy way for you to understand the framework of you helping your friend cross the bridge because you are helping them handle fear. Then, the loop that you're stuck in. The identity frame, understanding that people make decisions based off of their identity, and their identity is their self-perception. So you need to reframe their self-perception into a person that actually gets things done. For example, this. Then you go into extracting the real fear with a clarifying question. By asking them, okay, yeah, no worries at all, and then asking them, so when you do go ahead and do XYZ objection, what do you feel would actually come up? Clarifying question. They give you another surface level, say okay, no worries at all, clarify again. Keep clarifying until they give you the real objection. If they don't clarify, you need to have a productive conversation. Say, hey man, look, I know you have a problem to help here today. I'm here to help you, but right now this is not working, this conversation, because you're not having a productive conversation with me because I'm actually trying to help you and you keep giving me the same answer. What am I supposed to do here? Right? And some people might do that and then they might hop off the call or they'll give you the real objection. Either way, you want to get out of this cycle of surface level objection, iceberg. You tell them, okay, clarify what the actual objection is, and they give you another surface level. Break out of this cycle to get the real objection. Once you get the real objection, you have a couple different ways to handle it. The first way you can handle it is with an analogy. Think about an analogy, have them ready in your head. There's the Tony Robbins analogy, there's the bridge analogy that I just gave you. There are so many different analogies that you can study and remember and have ready on the call. And you can literally rehearse this analogy in your head and walk them through step by step until they agree with you that the decision that they would make would be to overcome their fear to actually get to the point they have to do now. And then, or you can frame them into two people. Look man, there's two versions of you today. One of them is going to do X and one's going to do Y. Which one do you feel actually gets results? This version. Okay, cool. Commitment question. So whatever you do, you reflect it back to them. Have you ever been scared in your own life and you ever done anything like that? Boom. Then once you do that, you ask them a commitment question. What do you feel is the best decision for you to take for you to actually achieve your goals? And that's how you handle objections. I guarantee you, if you implement this framework, this process, and even if you don't implement, if you understand what I told you today about psychology, about why people need other people to help them make decisions, if you understand why people make decisions in the first place, why their identity and their self-perception is huge, all these things, I guarantee you, in your next sales call, will help you close more deals. Now, I help all of my clients do this, and I work privately, not just with sales, but with marketing offers and things like that. If you are interested and if you want to work with me one-on-one, DM me audit on Instagram, and I will break down your current sales processes. I will break down your current funnel, your current strategies. I will review your numbers one-on-one completely for free, because I want to be able to provide the most value for you for free, and I want to be able to help you. So if you feel that I can actually help you, DM me on Instagram. And if you want to be a part of one of the clients that I've helped scale to 130K in rev, and it's only 3 clients in the past 1.5 years, if you want to be another person that I would work with and we would actually be able to implement all of these systems step by step with you, DM me audit on Instagram. And if not, really appreciate you watching this video. I'm sure it was very valuable, and I'll see you in the next one.